You are now tuned into Flippin the Birds, a Philly Sports Network podcast.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome.
You fucked it up. like this is like when me and Morgan were on a couple weeks ago, and I fucked it up, and I called you the mastermind, but obviously I was wrong.
Bro, I have no idea. Like, I forgot to put us into the stream, so I'm over here talking to myself outside of the stream, but
Fucked it up
just a little bit, and the lighting's all effed up right now. I moved back to my living room, so you may hear my turtle once in a blue.
The turtle's back.
Yeah, and I have the lights right above me, so I can't have the lights above me on because it's like shining off my head, and I have this lamp over here that's just not doing any type of justice.
See what happens when you're bald?
Yeah, that's the only downfall. And as a kid, I always wondered, like, how can bald people have such shiny heads? I still don't understand how our heads are so shiny, but we're here. But welcome to episode 91 of Flippin the Birds. I'm Brian Cameron. He's Chris Infante. And it's Eagles training camp time. It's time to talk about the battles, the headlines, everything that's going on. If you're joining us live right now, thank you guys for embracing the chaos for another Tuesday. We did miss last week because of certain scheduling issues, but that's neither here nor there.
Because my daughter was being an asshole.
Wow.
She was. She's going through some sleep regression shit, and she was going through some shit last week. Blame my daughter.
I mean, well, Morgan had a situation too, right? Because that's why we didn't do the pod, because it was just gonna be me talking to.
I think
myself.
Morgan. I think Morgan got lost in the woods somewhere.
I'm convinced that Morgan is currently like wrestling a bear or a kangaroo, trying to prove something to Eagles Twitter right now.
It's because he's Canadian.
You think that's what it is?
Yeah,
possibly.
And his name's Morgan.
But Morgan will actually be joining us a little later on. He's running a little late today. But let's talk Eagles. First thing that we must talk about is the knee injury, the knee sprain to Devontae Smith that's going to keep him sidelined for 2 to 3 weeks, which isn't such a Debbie Downer as everybody's making it seem to me, in my opinion. At the end of the day, I feel like the kid is still doing everything he can to make sure he's as part of this training camp as much as possible. And like I stated on Twitter, I think the chemistry with him and Jalen Hurts carrying over from Alabama to here is significant. That's something that the Eagles have never really had, honestly.
Well, I mean, we haven't. I can't remember the last time the Eagles have ever had a quarterback and a wide receiver who played together in college.
Never, right? I mean,
I don't think it's ever happened. It's you've had players play together that have went to the same college, that have gone to the same college, but never teammates. So you have the connection there between Hurts and Smith because they were teammates and they were really good together. So that's instant chemistry, and I think that's exciting.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but that can definitely carry over with him missing time. Like that's not something that you really lose when he comes back on the field because they had all that time to go over the playbook. At the moment that Smith was drafted, like that was all given to them.
I'm sure there's some stuff that you just got to go over, when he comes back. But, it's that timing. I mean, the timing is probably a little quicker just because Devontae is probably a little faster than he was in college. Well, the last time he was with Hurts in college, because I think Smith was a sophomore when Hurts was there. So obviously he's probably a little faster, but the timing's pretty similar. So Hurts, when he goes through his cadence, he probably already, he doesn't need to work on that. He really needs to just work on the stuff with Fulgham and Rager and Ward and Watkins and all that stuff because he only has 4 games worth with them.
Mm-hmm.
Hurts had college with them, so it's pretty. I'm not worried. I'm only worried because it's the Eagles, and it's an injury, and it's a week-to-week injury. And I know the whole staff is
But does
gone.
that carry over with like different coaching staffs? Because from Chip to Doug, like there was a big difference. Like Chip had the
Chip was
super
always healthy.
smoothies. Yeah.
Chip was always healthy. Listen, I've been adamant about this, and I will be of this opinion for the rest of my life. Chip Kelly should be hired back to the Eagles staff as the head trainer.
Where is he now? UCLA
He's
still or
still
no?
the UCLA head coach. Everybody
Okay.
hates him over there, but like he needs to bring his smoothies back. He needs to bring his mojo. I don't want to say massages because
It's a very, very
we
sensitive
don't want
topic,
to.
especially in the Eagles Twitter. Let's not talk about that.
Whatever he was doing back then needs to bring back. So
I completely agree with that. But
hey, Duck. Chip didn't curse us. Chip brought us the Super Bowl.
yeah, okay. We'll rock with it.
If we're gonna go back to the what if, remember the what if Chip Kelly is never hired, the Eagles do not win a Super Bowl.
I see that. I can definitely see it.
It's 100%.
And I hope you guys enjoyed that what if episode.
Timeline. Here we are right now in the Super Bowl timeline. If Chip is not hired, it goes this way, and Deshaun McCoy stays. Who knows who's our quarterback though?
That's very true. It's very true. Do you want to answer Fizz's question before we head into the topics?
Okay.
He's questioning your analogy right now.
I was just actually on something like this today. I'll tell you right now. So, all right. So prior to the 2016 NFL, but don't go down to the next one from him. All right, I get it, Nick Foles, but he wasn't that Nick Foles. Like I like to me, Nick Foles needed to go through what he went through to be there, and
not only that, Nick Foles needed the right players around him,
and we know that Nick Foles, who says he would have started a whole 16-game season? Like Nick Foles in that short amount of time was Nick Foles. So like, listen, so in 2000, prior to the 2016 draft, the Eagles received Sam Bradford. Wait, hold on. No, sorry. Prior to the 2015 draft, the Eagles received Sam Bradford, pick 145, a conditional 2016 pick. Okay. You go down to the 2016 draft now because of the picks that were, now the Eagles received pick 8. The Dolphins received pick 13, Kiko Alonso, Byron Maxwell. The Eagles then go up to 2. They become they get a 2017 4th-round pick that was later traded. So all these trades happen, and that's what leads to the Super Bowl. So it's these trades probably don't happen. Different players are probably chosen.
No, Nick was chosen by.
I know Nick. No, I'm saying like later on to build that Super Bowl team.
No, but to answer Doug's question, Nick was he was chosen by Reed, right? It wasn't Chip.
Nick was Andy Reid.
Yeah. So before we dive into no, he was Andy Reid.
Yeah, he was 2012. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was the Vic time. But before we dive into the headlines, guys, if you can go into the description below, make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Flippin the Birds YouTube channel. Even though there's no description.
You didn't put the banner.
No, the description's on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, yeah. If you guys are on the YouTube channel, and as Chris, how do you have access to the banner? I go away for 1 week and you just give yourself all these credentials. And make sure you guys subscribe to PSN Radio.
To answer the question, Nick Foles was a 3rd-round pick.
And okay.
I'm like almost 100% sure.
Make sure you guys subscribe to PSN Radio. We have moved completely to PSN Radio. We are no longer just Flippin' Birds alone. We are part of PSN's radio network. So let's talk about 2 training camp battles that I know that I know we've been big fans of so far that we've actually been checking out. Jordan Mailata versus Andre Dillard. Mailata apparently has. Is
it really a battle?
That's what I'm trying to say. Like Mailata actually has a significant upper hand right now.
The thing is, Mailata didn't have to do anything this training camp to hold. To me, he was just. I know Sirianni's preaching this whole competition, which is awesome, which is great. But the real competition has been the wide receivers. Outside of that, and now it's going to be who's going to be backing up Brandon Brooks and all that. But that's been Mailata's position to me. Andre Dillard needed to have a stellar training camp to even question Mailata's spot on that line. But Dillard is getting dangled. Dillard is getting destroyed. Dillard is getting dumped.
So what exactly would this mean for Dillard if he doesn't win this starting spot? Like, does he automatically become the backup, or is it kind of like, hey, we invested a first round pick, let's see who we could bait into giving us some draft capital for Andre Dillard?
I think if he loses the spot, then I think they have to trade him, because it's going to look really bad if a first round pick, number 2020, was it 2021? It
was 21.
Is backing up a 7th round pick
who was a rugby player and didn't play a lick of football.
So I think if you get what you can get, maybe a 4th or 5th round pick somewhere for next year, and you let someone else back up Mailata.
So is that a big L for Howie in that regard? Because they traded up one pick.
I think it's a wash, because you have Mailata, who's a 7th round gem, beating out a first round pick. I don't think. I think it's a wash. I mean, Dillard, to his credit, Dillard was the best pass blocking. I think he was the best pass blocking tackle coming out of the draft that year. To his credit, but he has a problem with the bull rushes, so he's getting his ass kicked by BG. Who doesn't get their ass kicked by BG? He's getting his ass kicked by Sweat. He was getting his ass kicked by Kerrigan. He was getting his ass kicked by Milton Williams, who I freaking love.
That kid is a monster, bro.
So he's getting beaten by rookies, by vets, it's like these guys that are, except for BG, maybe Sweat too. And I think Barnett was kicking his ass too. So you have these guys who, except outside of BG, maybe Sweat, aren't as good as the edge rushers that they're going to face early on in the season. If Dillard can't beat them, what is he going to do in the season? I think, and I know, someone said that he was hurt, but he's been healthy in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, he had a lot of time to recover. I mean, he got injured last offseason. It wasn't even during the season.
He got hurt last August. I know it was a torn biceps, but this August, right now, is a year. He should be fine.
Yeah, I completely agree with that sentiment. But you did mention two names that I was very intrigued by coming into this training camp, and now I'm very happy with the results of that's coming out of this position, where Josh Sweat has been getting a lot of first team reps. He's been considered the starter so far in training camp, and everybody's been praising this breakout of Josh Sweat. I'm stoked about it, man.
I'm gonna say I'm not gonna take this as a win, because my prediction going into the season, which I don't think is gonna happen, but I don't think it's gonna be too far off. My prediction was the starting defensive line was gonna be BG, Hargrave, Cox, and Milton Williams at edge. Milton Williams was drafted as a tackle, but I said he has the athleticism to play edge. The Eagles told him he'll probably be playing edge a lot, and I said this back in May.
Wait, so you think Williams will start over Sweat?
I said this back in May. Just that's how much I love Milton Williams, and how much I think he will be great as an edge rusher. So I got killed for it. No one's you forget about Barnett, forget about Sweat, blah blah blah. I get it, I know. But that's how much I love Milton Williams. I am kind of hoping Josh Sweat starts the season as a starter, because a certain BGN personality, who also goes by initials, decided to tweet under my tweet about it saying, I'm pretty sure the Eagles aren't going to pay someone $10 million to not be the starter, a.k.a. Derrick Barnett.
Derrick Barnett is not starting. There's no way Derrick Barnett is starting.
So I'm hoping Barnett's benched because I have it saved. I have the screenshot.
I think it's written in stone that with the way Sweat has progressed every season, it's written in stone that this kid is going to be a stud and he's going to end up getting the starting reps. Derrick Barnett has not progressed every season. He's been consistently Derrick Barnett.
He's always hurt.
And and then he had that one season where he was just like a problem with all these penalties called against him because he was acting stupid.
Yeah.
Barnett is not the guy that they expected him to be. And I'm pretty sure the front office and the coaching staff kind of see that. Sweat is the guy that everybody wanted him to be without the knee injury. And Sweat, according to Sweat, there's no knee problems right now.
For the most part, this team has been carried defensively and offensively by players in the later rounds.
Mm-hmm.
And Josh Sweat, it's Greg Ward, who was undrafted.
Mm.
I mean, Quez Watkins is looking good, and he's a late round pick.
Better than bring up that name right now.
Mailata, Jason Kelsey was a 6th round pick.
Mm-hmm.
There's not many high round picks that have been producing. I mean, we got Lane Johnson, who obviously was a 1st round pick.
BG was a 1st round pick.
BG was a 1st round pick. Cox was a 1st round pick. I don't think Hargrave was. I think
even though he was an Eagles
pick.
1st round pick.
I know. He wasn't an Eagles 1st round pick. You got, McPherson is looking good, and he was a 4th round pick.
Yeah, can we talk about that for a second?
Davion Taylor is looking good, and he was a 3rd round pick.
A lot of people were kind of writing off McPherson after Steven Nelson was signed, but it kind of feels like McPherson might just end up beating Maddox out of his position.
I don't think McPherson's beating Maddox out. I think McPherson's gonna push Nelson to Maddox's spot, and because McPherson has just been playing primarily outside corner, he hasn't been playing the nickel. Nelson can play outside and nickel, and so I think at some point during the season, maybe early in the season, we will see a Slay on the outside, McPherson on the other side, and Nelson in the slot, and I think that would be really good. I think that would be really good. I mean, I still think Maddox should convert to safety, but I know
that's not happening.
Too many safeties now. Because he was great as a rookie at safety. He gets abused in the slot.
Jim Schwartz really screwed that up. He
gets abused more on the outside. I think his confidence was destroyed, but he was better as a slot corner than he was an outside corner.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because he's shorter than Liam. Well, everybody's shorter than Liam. He was shorter than the Kangaroos that kicked Jay Fizzle's ass. So it's, I think in the slot he's a pretty good bet, but I like McPherson a lot. I really do.
Isn't it such a weird thing to actually think that the secondary of this Eagles defense could actually be a strength heading into the stretch of the season?
Well, not even that. The linebackers. Well, now Davion Taylor's hurt.
Wait, what happened to Taylor? Did I miss that?
He hurt his quad. So the thing, Davion Taylor was looking so good. And I called this shit again. Another thing I called. I'm so fucking smart.
I can't stand
another thing that I called, because people were clamoring, even me, were clamoring for JOK from Notre Dame to be drafted.
I think everybody was clamoring for that to happen, especially when he dropped.
And I said, I think Davion Taylor's too similar of a player to JOK. I think the Eagles will see Davion Taylor as their own JOK and use him in that kind of role. So it's kind of redundant to have two kinds of JOKs out there, and Taylor has been being that player.
And I was told by somebody close that Davion Taylor and Sean Bradley are actually highly favored by the Eagles front office.
I think we're going to see a really good rotation. I mean, if they're playing a lot of 3-4, which I think is going to happen, which I love. A defensive line of a 3-4 of BG, Hargrave as nose tackle, and Fletcher Cox as the other edge. That people forget when Chip was here with fucking Billy Davis. They ran a 3.4, and Fletch was the edge rusher, and he had 10 sacks. He was, I think it was 9.5. It was 9.5. I think it was 9.5, and he had 10 a couple of years later as defensive tackle. But he has the ability to be that guy. And if you have Fletch on really bad tackles now, and or that are going to command double teams from the guard and the tackle, you're going to allow your rushing linebackers to hit those gaps and really rush the quarterback. And you have the speed now. You have Taylor, who's fast. You have Sean Bradley, who's fast. You have Eric Wilson, who can cover. And you have Alex Singleton, who likes to blitz the hell out of the ball and get it. We know we haven't seen Singleton yet because he's on the COVID list. Yeah. But and we are still waiting for the inevitable trade that the Eagles do to the Cardinals to get Jordan Hicks back.
Do you think that's actually going to happen? Like,
no.
Okay, so that nips it in the bud.
I would like it because he was apparently Jordan Hicks, and he said this very candidly in his press conference. He was told by the general manager, "You have no shot to be the starter."
How do you tell a veteran that? And they did the same thing to him last year, where they moved him out of position because of Simmons.
Especially a guy who was another player they freaking abused in the worst ways. But like you tell a guy who started every game for you, who didn't do that in the Eagles, and he's been great. And Duck is correct. And Kerrigan, like a defensive line of BG, Kerrigan, Fletcher Cox, Hargrave, Kerrigan, Josh Sweat, Derrick Barnett. I think Kerrigan has his hand wrapped now, but if Kerrigan proves to be healthy, I think Barnett is expendable. But the thing is, with his extension, his restructure, I saw that he has a dead cap for next year.
If he gets,
if he's not extended,
if he gets traded, even if he gets traded,
I think if he gets, maybe if he doesn't get traded, I don't know if his contract. Let me see if Over the Cap did it. Because if he's not extended, then the Eagles cut him or don't even resign him, then he has a dead cap next year. I think of $7 million.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised that they haven't moved him yet. That was the key thing for me. So let me look at this as well.
There is a team in the AFC East that needs edge rushers, and they may have a corner to give up.
And who's this team in the AFC East?
We already have their first round pick. They need edge rushers bad. Josh Sweat, where are you? Not Josh Sweat, Derrick Barnett.
But if he has a post-release, for a post-June 1st release in 2022, he's his dead cap is only 1.8.
Yeah, but until you're waiting to a lot, you're waiting to.
And then it carries over to 2023 the remaining amount. There's no way really around it, honestly.
Yeah. They could extend. Maybe if they could extend them and trade them, maybe. But we know it's Miami. Like I know. We know.
Shout out to Duck and J Fizz because they're like every week they're loyally here. So if you guys don't watch us live, and you catch the audio stream, you got to make some time for Tuesday night, and you'll see Duck and Fizz just running up the chat. Same thing with Alex sometimes once in a blue.
They talk to each other.
They do. They argue. They actually argue with each other.
Like, just get each other's numbers. Like, don't spam our chat.
We should actually have a corner of the podcast where it's like just for them. We call it the Kangaroo's Pouch.
What?
Does that fit?
The Kangaroo's Pouch.
The Kangaroo's Pouch. And Isaac chiming in. But shout out to you guys for joining us today. One thing that has been picking at my brain over the weekend. Obviously, you enjoyed the weekend with me because you did come out to my daughter's birthday. So thank you so much for bringing your beautiful family. No, we're not mentioning that on the podcast because you don't.
But you just said something that I don't know if I can agree with.
All right, it's fine. You know what? Let's do it. Let's 2 minutes. That's it. We're spending 2 minutes on this.
You just said I enjoyed the weekend with you. I don't.
Yes. I know nothing like that. Listen, afterwards, after that, I said you came to my daughter's birthday, and I greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, I enjoyed it with her and hanging out with her. But when you were involved, wasn't my favorite parts.
Whatever. Anyways, so a friend of mine was there, and we were talking about football. We were talking about Jalen Hurts. And the thing that caught me off guard was kind of like, he's like, I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to be as good as everybody really thinks he's going to be for some reason. And I started thinking about it. And I started thinking about how Indy actually ran their offense last season. And this might actually be something that's going to be a rarity for Eagles fans to actually witness is this team's going to be a heavy run team, if you actually think about it. It's going to be so run first that we're not going to be accustomed to it. And it's going to be kind of against what we've been used to seeing, where those cars are running out the passing numbers, and they're getting ground game, getting nothing.
The last time we were pretty not heavily run, but more of a 50-50 run team, we won the Super Bowl.
And we have such a dynamic running group. Like, you got Miles Sanders, you got Kenny Gainwell, you have Jordan Howard, who's been looking great in training camp so far.
Which pisses me off.
You have Kerryon Johnson, who I've heard nothing about in training camp so far. And you have Boston Scott,
who's too busy playing Xbox.
Nick Sirianni called, a leader among the group, which means he's gonna stick around.
Like the two guys that I've been freaking bashing the last few weeks are like locks. Are probably more locks than Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith right now at this point. Greg Ward and Boston Scott.
And I really feel like you don't keep Boston Scott if you have a player like Kenny Gainwell. Like, I personally do not want Boston Scott taking his snaps away from Kenny Gainwell. I want to see a rookie ball out. I want to see a rookie actually have playing time on this team.
I think this running back rotation, no matter if it's unless it's whether it's Jordan Howard or Kerryon Johnson back there, I think this running back group reminds me a lot. I know I threw out the Super Bowl team. I don't think this is a Super Bowl team, but it reminds me of that running back rotation we had the Super Bowl year. We had LeGarrette Blount, we had Jay Ajayi, we had Darren Sproles, and we had Kenyon Barno. I know Sproles got hurt. Now you put in Corey Clement. So you have right now, you have Miles Sanders, who I think is a more athletic LeGarrette Blount than any of those other.
You think he's more LeGarrette Blount than Jay Ajayi?
People want to say Jay Ajayi, but I think Jay Ajayi was a really good outside runner. LeGarrette Blount was obviously a punisher up the middle. Mm-hmm. Miles Sanders got most of his yards up the middle. He was a punisher up the middle. Miles Sanders going out the outside. He's good, but he gets a little fumbly out there. Okay. But up the middle, he's really good up the middle. I think he averaged like 6-point-something yards per carry up the middle, as opposed to like 3.8, 3.9 on the outside, which is still pretty good. But then you put in Jordan Howard as, I guess you can say he's LeGarrette Blount, Jay Ajayi there. Kenny Gainwell is like
Sanders is more Ajayi than Blount.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Kenny Gainwell is definitely Corey Clement.
A better version of than Corey Clement, in my opinion.
But receiving wise, he can do. And then you have Boston Scott as who should be your fourth running back, nothing more, and he should just be your returner. And that was Kenyon Barner.
I don't want to feel.
That was Kenyon Barner.
I don't want a feeling punts ever. I don't.
As I would rather.
Why can't it be Quez Watkins?
I would rather you field punts than Greg Ward.
I actually might be pretty good at it. I'm pretty fast.
Whoever else.
Don't underestimate me.
Whoever else is back there outside of Greg Ward, I'll take it.
But I personally think it should be Quez Watkins. Quez Watkins was nasty with it in college.
Okay, well, throw him back there. Fine. Well, whatever.
I can't throw him back there. Unfortunately, I don't have that authority.
Oh, well, it sucks for you.
It definitely does suck for me. Okay, don't get all emotional over there, right?
No, can't help you there.
So this team being a run first team, does that do you feel like that negates anything possibly that Jalen Hurts can do?
No, because the more you run, the better your pass play action is going to be. and the more it's going to respect the run, because the offense has been so stale the last couple of years because there hasn't been a run game to respect. So the defense is going to sit back and just guard these wide receivers, and also the wide receivers haven't been good enough to demand double teams. So you have one-on-ones all over the place because they can keep up with these wide receivers. So you have the linebackers free to stay home and spy the quarterback or really get in on the running game. So there's been no threat to do anything. This also opens, I know, I harp back to the 2017 offense, and I know it's a different coaching staff, but the RPO stuff. If you have a good running back game, like Hurts is a good runner, you got to respect Sanders or whoever's back there. You got to respect Hurts. So who are you going to guard? That's going to open up a lot.
It's weird. We haven't heard anything about Hurts as a runner at all so far from
you
training.
You have screens. I mean, you have sweeps. So I think if you throw all that stuff in there, it opens up a lot. So I don't think the Eagles will have a winning record. I'm not as optimistic.
So you're really still there.
I think they're going to be better than I originally thought.
Okay.
I still don't think they have a winning record. I've gone from the 4-13.
Okay.
I'm more into the 6-7 range now.
All right. So really quick for guys in the chat, post the record, your prediction for the team record wise in the chat real quick. I just want to kind of see something. Let's check it out a little bit. So you're saying 7.
Right now I'm 6-11, 7-10 range. Because
okay.
I just think hold on.
I personally think like with this defense,
I just think the schedule's too hard. I know it's a last place schedule. I just think it's still a really hard schedule. Because
I feel like this defense is gonna be very underrated heading into the season.
Well, you have both sides. You have defense who's going to have to compete with elite offenses, or this offense having to compete with elite defenses. Week one, we have the Falcons. So we have this defense having to go against Matt Ryan, Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts. You have week 2, which I'm thinking they're going to have to face Trey Lance. But a Kyle Shanahan offense with Trey Lance at quarterback, with Deebo Samuel, you're going to have to, and Brandon Ayuk, you're going to have to guard. And that running game that Kyle Shanahan is really good, and the defense is really good too.
It doesn't scare me.
Week 3, you have the Cowboys. I mean, you got to, who knows if Dak will be healthy. But you still got Zeke, you still got Lamb, you still got Cooper, you still got Gallup. Like, that's still a good offense. The defense is going to suck, but it's still a really good offense. Then you got the Chiefs.
Early on, but like you're talking about
the
like
Panthers
mid-season to the down stretch, like it's very positive. Like, all right, so let's look at the list real quick. So Doug says with Nelson we should be 8 to 20 wins. Isaac says 9-8 or 11-6. $1 Million Soups 75 says 10-7. Doug says 8 to 10 wins. So I guess he changed his mind. Oh, he meant to put 8 to 10 wins. There we go. Fizz says 6, even though
since when are there 18 games?
You were waiting to say that word.
Since when are there 18 games? Idiot.
Yeah, so Doug Max, he meant 8 to 10 wins. And I listen, out of all of these, like I agree with Isaac, I agree with Doug. I feel like the 10-7 is a little too optimistic, but this is to me like an 8 to 10 win team. Honestly, okay. Like defensively, I think they can hold it down.
I think their best shots at wins are the Panthers.
All right, hold on. The hair just showed up. Hold on. Oh, there he is.
Oh, we're finally better looking. All right. We're finally better looking.
Yeah, I'm not going to say anything for the rest of the podcast. That's all.
Just look into this camera.
Yeah.
Okay, before I was rudely interrupted.
Wait. So real quick. So Morgan, since you just jumped on, we gauged the chat to see who how people feel this team will fare this season and win wise. Like how many wins that the Eagles they believe that the Eagles will win. We have a couple people saying 9-8, 10-7, 8 to 10 wins. Jay Fitz said 12 to 6, and Chris yelled at him. 8 to 10 wins. Where do you feel this team falls before Chris goes on his rampage?
I'm I mean, I feel like we talked about this before too. Is like I think 8-10 really fits in the ballpark. Like I think that's where I put it too. But it's going to be like the first 5 weeks that we can tell. If we end up the first 5 weeks and it's like 1-4, then we might be looking at more of a 6-11, 5-12 season. But and injuries, man, I don't know. I feel like there's too many variables. But 8-10 wins the goal. That'd be a good season for us. If we get up anywhere past 10, this is a all props
Team of
to
destiny. Team of destiny.
Yeah, exactly.
One of
Going all
those
the way.
again.
But look, okay. So I think my slam dunk wins are Carolina because you're being. I mean, I know I love Joe Brady, and I think he's gonna be good for Sam Darnold, but still Sam Darnold. The Raiders, they suck. The Raiders suck. The Lions, that could be like a little 2-game win streak there.
Okay.
Then you have the Chargers, which I like the Chargers a lot. I can't say
Give me
that's a
3-game
win.
win streak.
I can't say that's a win. The Broncos are a win. Broncos suck. The Saints.
Wait, why can't you say the Chargers are a win though?
Because Justin Herbert is really good, and their defense is really good.
I would go as far to say that I'm more afraid of the Chargers than I am the Saints.
Absolutely, me too.
I think I mean I don't think anybody's afraid of Jameis Winston.
I think the Broncos. I think the Broncos are a win. I think the Saints are a win because they suck now. Here's a 3 out of 4 game stretch. You have at Giants, at Jets. You have 2 games in a row at the same stadium against 2 teams that should be bad. Then you have the bye. Then you have Washington. Then you have the Giants again. You go Washington, Dallas to end it. So I think if you split the Giants, let's say that's 1 win there. The Jets are 2, Saints are 3, Denver's 4, Detroit's 5, Las Vegas is 6, Carolina's 7. So who if we're going 8-10, maybe Atlanta can be 8.
I think they can take San Fran.
Are you saying San Francisco?
I think they could take San Fran.
I mean, maybe early on, maybe since it's so early in the season, they can steal that until maybe when Trey Lance gets his legs under him, he can. Really, are you ready to see? Can they split Dallas? Can they?
I think Dallas and Washington are the biggest issues.
Yeah, can they beat the
Chiefs? They might just rest starters.
Can they beat Tom Brady and Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and Antonio Brown and that defense? Can they beat Justin Herbert? Can they beat Washington?
I think Justin Herbert is very beatable. I think we're way
Justin Herbert's really good.
Yes, but then on top of that, the guy who made Justin, the guy who helped Justin Herbert excel last season is on our sideline now. You don't think that's going to factor into how this team plays defense against Justin Herbert?
I cannot explain to you how many Chargers fans wanted Steichen gone last year.
I know. I heard that. Yeah, I've completely heard that. But he did help Herbert excel, whether we like it or not.
I'm sure, but I'm just saying that people did not like him.
Doesn't mean he can't help us.
Apparently, Anthony Lynn was the scapegoat of that whole thing, but Steichen was not good. I'm not saying that. I think he's going to be good for us because he has that connection with Sirianni and all that. But people weren't very happy with him.
So and the underrated defense too. Great defense.
Derwin James. You got Joey Bosa.
So there's only really 4 teams that really scare you on the schedule.
I'm
5.
I'm right there. I'm right there. I'm at 7 wins, 6-7 wins comfortably, maybe 8. Outside of that, I can't. I'm a realist. I don't exaggerate.
You are not a realist, and you do exaggerate. Let's not talk about the 4 or 5 podcasts. There were pitches to Jalen Ramsey, nonstop.
Who?
You.
Not me.
Listen, look. To be honest, there's only 4 or 5 teams that really scare you on the schedule.
The Chiefs
in the division is Washington and
Cowboys,
Dallas that scares you a little bit.
The Chiefs, the Cowboys, Washington, Tampa.
Yeah. And LA.
Chargers.
That's it.
Well, I mean, we got the easiest record in the NFL this year based on.
But hey, listen. The last time we had a second-year quarterback with a last-place schedule and the chemistry as good as it is right now, Super Bowl team.
I wouldn't go as far as to say Super Bowl team with this team, but
I'm
it's
just saying.
More
very
veteran
possible.
talent on that team.
Wentz was in the second year. Obviously, we didn't have a rookie head coach, but right now we have a rookie head coach, who came from a wide receivers background, like Doug did. Just saying, chemistry is really good. A late offseason addition of cornerback. That year was Ronald Darby. This year, Steven Nelson.
I don't know. I mean, I can't go ahead.
I
Mark.
really like this coaching staff, and I really think that they're going to do something special in Philly. But I think that it might be a 2-year project before we really start seeing the wheels turn. I think there's some games in there that I think that to understand like that this is still a first-year head coach, a weird defense that they haven't really figured out all the pieces. Like they're saying in training camp, they're running as much 3-4 as there is 4-3. That's the kind of thing that takes a bit of time, and they're not going to get that time in like looking at the schedule. So I think,
especially when you have so many 1-year players, like Slay's probably not going to be here next year as much as we don't want.
No, most likely not. Yeah.
Steven Nelson's probably not going to be here next year. Anthony Harris is probably not going to be here next year. So Eric Wilson may not be here next year. Like you're seeing all these players that are veterans of this new defense that may not be there next year, and we're going to have to rely on the players that were developed this year plus any rookies or free agents that come in next year. I think it's going to be tough. It's and you look at next year's schedule. You got the Bears, you got the Lions again, you got the Texans, you got the Colts. But it's at Indy. Wentz will probably be retired by the time. The points will probably be retired by the time they come into Philly. You got the Packers, you got the Vikings, you got the Jaguars, you got the Titans. You have the same place winner of the NFC South. You have the same place winner of the NFC West. I think next year will probably be a little easier of a schedule. But this year's, I think, if they get more than 8 wins, it's a bonus to me, and it'll just help their development for next year.
If they get more than 8 wins, or if they get 8 wins exactly, where does that leave them in the division? With the Giants who are fighting each other, I feel like Washington will be a great defense, but they're not going to have a great offense because
if Dak is healthy, Eagles will come in third.
Yeah.
With either Washington or Dallas winning the division.
So even with Fitz as the quarterback for the Washington, you're taking
their defense is too good.
Even with the inconsistency of Fitzpatrick.
We've seen time and time again a defense carry an offense or carry a team deep into the playoffs because no matter how bad their quarterback is.
They were a playoff team last year. I don't think Fitz is going to be worse than Alex Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or whoever else they had back there.
Yeah.
Exactly. Who was it? Freaking Heineke. Yeah.
That's the kid that played in the playoffs for them, right?
Yeah. So Fitz is a journeyman. He knows how to succeed. He beat the Eagles with the freaking Dolphins.
I'm not gonna lie.
He beat the Eagles with the freaking Bucks.
I think I agree with Fizz. A little bit too much credit going towards Fitz, honestly. Just a little bit too much.
I don't know if and you saw what he did against on Miami, and Washington hands down has a better roster, I think. Than last year, Miami Dolphins, they're a better team. I don't think Fitz has to do as much. They did the same thing on their D-line as they did with the receivers, where they just stacked and stacked and stacked. I think that, when you're comparing kind of young receiving groups, and we're being all hopeful for what the Eagles have in-house, man, the Redskins have some great young players. Mm-hmm. That's a great duo.
We don't need to give Fitz way too much credit or whatever. You have Terry McLaurin that he's throwing to. You have Curtis Samuel now.
So you
have Antonio Gibson.
What about the question that Fitz is asking now? What about when he was in Tampa taking over for Jameis and they had a solid team? They had Mike Evans. They had
he beat the shit out of the Eagles that year.
Not about the Eagles. Is how did they finish that year?
He beat the shit out of the Eagles. Always beat the shit out of the Eagles.
Beat the shit out of the Eagles.
He hates the Eagles.
He lives for Eagles games. It's just Fitz magic, baby.
Could be Fitz tragic or Fitz average.
Shut the hell up. I'll tell you right now, his career versus the Eagles. Come on, what the hell?
Well, let's look at it then. So they start off the season with the Chargers.
And we're talking about Washington, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then they got the Giants and they got the Bills. So a tough start. Then they got the Falcons, Saints, Chiefs, Packers. Like, they got a tough schedule. So I think that there is a chance that the Eagles could.
What about
play the Bucks?
What about the Cowboys schedule? How did they start?
I want to say they start with the Giants. There must be an NFC matchup to start the season.
Did you guys know that the Donovan McNabb tie game that he didn't know that they tied? Fitzpatrick was the quarterback for the Bengals.
Really?
Yeah, that's how far back it's been.
Cowboys start with the Bucks.
Oh wow, okay.
Cowboys gonna go 0-1.
I don't think so. I think like the moniker's always been if you get Tom Brady, you want him early in the season, and I think that like that offense might just come to play.
Wait.
It's
Okay.
in Tampa though.
So Brian, remember when the last time it was me and you, Morgan, when Jay Fizzle was so wrong about everything that he said in the chat. He was telling us that Westbrook was top 3 in all-purpose yards all time. That Westbrook should be a Hall of Famer and all that. So I think it took until like number 112 for us to find Westbrook's name on the list. So Jay Fizzle's here saying that Fitzpatrick did not throw, and he didn't throw 6 picks in a game. I get it. He threw 6 picks, maybe 6 picks in a game, but the most he's ever thrown against the Eagles was 3, and that was back in 2015 when he was part of the Jets. The last 2 games Fitzgerald has played against the Eagles, when he was with Tampa, 402 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, and that was when he had his little jacket on and chain.
That's when he had Deshaun.
Yeah, that was when he had DJs. Yeah.
Yes.
And then in 2019, the Dolphins. 365 yards, 3 touchdowns. So the last 2
against Jim Shorts.
His last 2 starts against the Eagles, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Yeah, who do we have in our secondary that
So this whole Fitzgerald hasn't thrown against us. Even the start before that, when
I'm not saying he hasn't thrown against us. I'm just saying like I don't think he's gonna be. I don't think he's going to be that guy.
Terry McLaurin, he has Curtis Samuel. He had and they drafted. Oh my God, they drafted one of my favorite receivers this year. Oh my God,
I was trying to remember his name too.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I completely forgot his name.
I have too many favorite wide receivers.
I keep thinking Tony, but that's not right. That's the Giants.
They drafted De'Ami Brown. They drafted De'Ami Brown, who's really freaking good. And you have Antonio Gibson, who's really freaking good. Like that offense, the only question mark of that team right now, besides quarterback, maybe, is their offensive line. Yeah, their defensive line.
And we have a pretty good defensive line.
Their corners are good. Their corners are really good. Their safeties are really good.
You just finished praising. I'm sorry, Morgan.
I think we split. Like I think we can split against Washington, but I just think that in those games, the Washington defense is the wild card, right? Like when they go to play the Cowboys, can we hang with the Cowboys on offense? I don't think so. Can our defense stop the Cowboys' healthy offense? Like if they have injuries, maybe. But I think Washington can beat the Cowboys twice. You know what I mean? So I think it's going to be those games. Like I think it's going to be close, but if the Eagles end up with 8 wins, like I could see the Washington end up with 9 or 10.
Especially if the Cowboys' offensive line's banged up again, that defensive line of Washington's going to just eat them up.
Well, the Cowboys' biggest concern right now is their quarterback already being banged up.
When isn't the question mark their quarterback?
Well, no, Dak wasn't. He had a good stretch of healthy years before last year.
Then the Carson Wentz curse.
And the Carson Wentz curse has traveled. My thing is like, look, okay, so they have a banged up offensive line, right? Or they have a bad offensive line. We have a pretty good defensive line. You just finished praising our linebackers, our young linebackers. Yeah, but and we just finished. We just finished raving about our secondary as well, who has a mixture of young and experienced and veteran cornerbacks. Mm-hmm. I personally I feel like we're looking at this from the lens of who the Eagles were, opposed to who the Eagles could potentially be. I don't see Fitzpatrick throwing for 400 yards against this defense.
Maybe not. He doesn't need to with that. He doesn't need to with that.
Yeah.
Team.
I feel like what me and Chris are trying to do is temper expectations. See, the problem is like
forget
start
tempering.
Well, I'm just saying, like, you get a few wins going, you have those stretches where you win 2 or 3 games, then all of a sudden, just because it's not a 10-win season, we want Sirianni out and we want to start over again, right? So I think that like the 8 to 10 in a rookie head coach's first year, and essentially what we have is a rookie quarterback. Let's be honest, that's like 8 to 10 wins is a great season. That's a fantastic season, especially considering those couple of games we have that are just not win games. Like if we go out and we beat the Bucks, the league is on notice, and all of a sudden, like I'm thinking, like if we go and beat the Bucks and hang with the Chiefs, absolutely, we can talk about going to the playoffs and all that stuff. But we need those wins, or at least to be close in those games. I feel like to really like the NFC East is going to be a tough division this year. I think they're underrated.
Like
sure.
Fitzgerald has a type of defense around him that he does not even need to throw for 250.
You talking about Larry?
Yeah. He doesn't have to throw for 250. That defense is so good that they can keep the Eagles down to single digits, and all he has to do is game manage, and maybe even a defensive touchdown will win that freaking game.
But that could go vice versa, can it not? Jalen Hurts just has a game manage for a group a running back group that could actually excel.
I don't think our defense is that good though. I mean, don't get me wrong, we have a great up and coming defense, but it's not Washington.
They are not Washington.
I'm not saying that they're Washington. I'm just saying like this philosophy could go either way in this regard. Like I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is the second coming of Randall Cunningham. Like he could be the game man. Like I said before, he could be just a game manager this season, and it could just be about the running backs. If our running backs are running wild, who's to say that we can run wild on Washington?
I think you need Jalen Hurts to be somewhat special to make the playoffs and to go somewhere. Because I think like if you're talking about game manager, then essentially we're looking at what the Colts were able to do, right? Mm-hmm. And the Colts are a great team. Phillip Rivers, for as good as he has been, was a game manager, right? So I think that like that's fantastic. If I'm looking at last year's Colts versus the Redskins, I'm going to take the Redskins. So I think you do need a bit of special, but I think we'd find out in those games how special Jalen Hurts can be. The nice thing is that you get those guys late in the season. So if those are must-win games, I love Jalen with his back against the wall. Like I same as Carson Wentz. Like I take him in those games, maybe not playoff games, but getting into the playoff games. I love his grit. I love his edge. It's Philly, man. Like we're gonna be competitive in those games, huh?
Who's Carson Wentz?
Yeah, some Colts quarterback. Colts quarterback Hall of Fame already.
Hall of Fame already.
It's gonna get him another one of those we beat the Patriots banners, or the AFC Championship finalist.
That rookie they have is gonna go win them a Super Bowl now, probably.
Wouldn't that be done some shit?
That would I would feel so bad for Carson if that happens, bro.
Wouldn't that be some shit? If they trade for Foles,
yeah,
I might have to delete Twitter just because I'm just gonna be scrolling. I'm just gonna be scrolling nonstop of just the tape, just people like being on Carson watching. And
how would you feel if you're the new or the Bears coach when you have Foles talking like that about Frank Reich?
How
do you feel?
Well, I feel like Foles doesn't even like Nagy. Like the way Foles had that wild press conference, like last year or something like that, and then I got benched a couple games afterwards. I can't remember
the last time I've seen him that animated.
Yeah,
like that. Like
it was last season when he was talking about we'll die, all of us will die for each other in the locker room. Like that's the brotherhood. Like he was going crazy on that press conference.
That freaking just gung ho about some shit. Like that was a Nick Foles we haven't seen in Philly yet. Like he wasn't even
I've never seen him. Yeah. Somebody must have really pissed him off on Eagles Twitter.
But the fact that you gave, and I know it's Nick Foles, like I get it, but the fact that they gave a third string quarterback media time, you don't see that.
Talk about another team's situation.
I get that it's Nick Foles again, but you don't see Joe Flacco getting.
Why is he still on that team
right now? Because of his contract. Can't move it. But it's like you said, he's not even talking about how teams are going, like how the team is going. He's talking about the Colts.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking about the Colts.
He's trying to sell himself.
And he's open. He's like, I'm just gonna go out and just sling it to these third stringers. He knows he's not gonna be
better than I was in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
that's a little wild. Yeah, him saying that was a little eccentric. I read that and I was kind of like, okay, like what the hell's going on over there?
You were out of body in the Super Bowl run. Like you were never that good before either. Yeah,
no, not at all.
Blacked out. He was blacked out that game.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Here's my dog's back. Hey, Mace. You want to say hi? Say hi.
At least we're looking at hopefully an early second now. I mean,
we'll probably look at the 33rd pick.
Yeah.
Unless they trade for Nick Foles, then we're looking at the 64th pick.
If they trade for Nick Foles, it's gonna be so foul, bro.
You put out that tweet, right, where if it's measured by percentage of snaps, then we still have a chance.
Yeah. Well, it is. It's percent. So it's 70% of snaps for Wentz and playoffs, or 75% total, and it doesn't matter what they do. But I think 75% is out. If he misses at least three games, I think 75% is out.
Right.
But
what are the odds that this
actually,
happens?
I keep forgetting that there's a 17th game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that
four
puts
games.
I think 17 games puts you around 1,150 snaps for the season. You times that 0.75, that's 862 and a half snaps. Divide that by 16. That's like 54 snaps a game.
The other thing that we might not be factoring in is if they have a backup in, they might not be able to keep the ball on offense. It might be a lot of 3 and outs. That might – I don't know if it works that way. Like, I don't know if it's a percentage of each game, but if they end up playing more offensive snaps.
No, I think it's total. It's just total. So, it's total for the whole season. So, if at the end of – like, if they end up with 1,150 snaps on the season – and he did not play at least 862 and a half offensive snaps of those, he didn't make it. But or if they make the playoffs and he didn't do, let's say 1150. Oops. 11.
We're doing this math just because we want to see him playing. We want to see him healthy.
805.
No ill intentions, just so you guys know.
So 805. 805 snaps. So let's say he averages, if they average like 60 offensive snaps a game, divide that by 60, that's 13.4 games. So if he misses,
is that average 60?
Yeah,
60 or 75.
Well, I'm saying if they average 60 offensive snaps a game,
okay,
that's 13.4 games. That to reach
so
800,
he's got to play 14 games for us.
He's got to play like 14 games. Yeah. To really, yeah.
True.
I think
that was like a long shot right now.
I think it was great. I think it's the 33rd pick.
Yeah, that's all right.
But, like I said, like with so much talent now in the NFL draft, and so many teams reaching for need, and us seeing a lot of the 33rd pick might as well be a first round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's
not terrible. I mean,
whatever you missed out on the first, like think about it. Like the Bengals this past year, they had a whole day to see what they had left out of the first round. Like, who are we gonna take now? We're gonna take the best of the bunch, and let's hold on. Let me see. Let's say this year, the Eagles.
Elijah Moore is 34th.
Elijah Moore.
Tyson Campbell was 33rd. The cornerback for the.
So that's like we all really wanted Elijah Moore. I know we did Devontae Smith in the beginning, but you had a player like that available to you. You had a player like Tyson Campbell available to you. Javonte Williams, who would have been a really good Miles Sanders compliment, but I like Kenny Gainwell. Javon Holland. Like I know they had Landon Dickerson, which I really like.
They've fairly done pretty good in the second round, except for the J-Jaw pick. I mean, you got Landon Dickerson, Miles Sanders,
Jordan Matthews.
Yeah, they've done fairly good. Yeah,
that hurts.
It's just the first round that's been the hardest round
Well,
for Howie to
yeah, you
nail.
go back another year, you got T. Higgins, Michael Pittman, DeAndre Swift, Xavier
Yeah,
McKinney,
so you have a really good,
DK Metcalf.
Kyle Duggar.
Kyle Duggar.
And
A lot of talent. There's definitely a lot of talent that's on the board in the
So
second
if
round
you
every
have
year.
the first pick in the second round, you have another day of scout, like just research to do and scouting to do.
But knowing Howie, he'll trade back for more picks
for 2023.
Well, trade up first and then trade back.
Yeah, he'll trade up to 20 to 31, sending next year's first to move up 2 spots to trade back and get 2023 fourth and fifth round conditional picks.
Yeah, that's Howie.
Do you guys
He's
talk
always looking for
about
the future.
Dillard yet?
Yeah, we actually Dillard was our
sucks.
first topic of conversation tonight.
Do you say
summed
trade
up.
him?
I'll ask Chris, like, what happens now? Like, is he a glorified backup or do you move him? A lot of people in the chat said, do you move him and just see what you get from like a 3rd or 4th round pick?
I think you have to.
Yeah, there's no way he stays on this team.
I think you wait until he has like a good practice, and then you call up everyone and be like, "Yo, Dillard had
We got it on
practice.
tape. He got a great practice. We got it on tape.
Yeah.
He did suicides.
Watch this film, and then you call up the Giants. You call up the Redskins. You call up everyone who's in your division. Bengals. Yeah.
Andre Dillard for Jamar Chase.
I wish.
That's a good trade.
And maybe a pick too.
First round pick.
Yeah, throwing a pick. We'll take Joe Burrow too.
No, I'm rolling with Jalen Hurts, man.
Right. As a backup. We can use it.
Joe Burrow could be a good backup.
I don't want any more glorified backups on this damn team ever again.
What do you call Joe Flacco?
He ain't glorified by nobody in Philly.
Except for
nobody want Flacco.
Except for Liam. He interviewed him.
All right, well.
I'll say it right now. Honestly, though, if we end up in a playoff game and God forbid we have to go to our backup again, I feel fairly comfortable with Joe Flacco as a backup.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I feel better with Nick Mullins.
I've heard
He's been
reports.
slinging it, apparently.
I saw reports. I mean, again, they're not my reports. Everyone's reading the same reports, but but
some people copy paste these reports and make it seem like they're reports, even though they're nowhere near the Philadelphia area.
Breaking news! I just found this out too, and I appreciate it because that means I find it out as well. But yeah, everyone's reading the same news, guys. We don't got new news for you, but we're here.
I read a tweet the other day where someone was copy and pasting tweets, and it was obvious because it was the same words and everything. And someone asked him, "Oh, you got access to practices now?" And he said, "Oh, I might have made the cut. LOL."
Yeah, we know you did.
You made the cut and the paste.
Yeah, unless you're Dave Spadaro. I don't see you with a bald head. You're not making it. I think
I asked the reporter who was actually at training camp, "Hey, is this person there?" And he said, I actually control the list, and his name is not on the list." Yeah. Okay, just make sure.
Yeah. That's why you should always be careful with who you get your news from. Stick to PSN. Ain't nobody better.
We don't spread news.
Yeah. But anyways, we'll be back next Tuesday night for sure. We might have look at Macy.
I will not be there.
Is it next Tuesday you're not here?
I will be in Philadelphia.
Okay, so next Tuesday is me and Morgan, but we may have a special pod at some point next week on top of our Tuesday
or
pod.
Thursday or Friday, maybe. We'll see.
With a very special person.
We'll see.
We cannot announce yet.
We can't.
But it's very, very good.
Might get a little dark.
Super dark. Like, Avengers ending dark.
Dark. But yeah, next Tuesday I will be in Philadelphia. I'll be going to the zoo.
Oh, nice.
And then on Wednesday I'll be going to Sesame Place.
They got a good zoo down there. I've never been to Philly. I gotta come.
They have a big zoo. It's an incredible zoo. It's really good. It's really good.
I love zoos.
We cannot get Bradley back. He's in season now. Sorry.
Yeah, not yet. No, it's definitely not Bradley, but it's somebody that you guys will love. Maybe. So yeah, next Tuesday, me and Morgan, and then special pod drop at some point. We'll figure out when, whether it's live or it's pre-recorded. But I'm sure you guys will enjoy it. Until then, guys, I'm Brian Cameron. He's Chris Infante. That's Macy as well, and that's Morgan Burkett. We're Flipping the Birds.
See you next week, guys.
Go Birds.
Yes, sir.